Hello, guys. Just waiting for our guest today. For you that have joined, her name is Gayle Ebose. Hopefully, she's going to be on here soon. What have I done? Keep on turning the camera the wrong way. But yes. So, how are you? I think it's Adelaide. Hey, Adelaide. How are you doing? Can you hear me, for one? Hey, Gayle.
Hey, my bad for the delay.
No, that's fine. It's within the time. It's allowed. It wasn't too
Yeah,
heavy.
yeah.
I had a day when I was like doing stuff, and then I was like 10
Mm-hmm.
late to my own
Oh
chat,
my God. Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
that was peak times. So, but I think
Yep.
things because it's all done online. As long as you're here, there is no real such thing as late.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. True. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
How you been
So
today? What do you say? How are you today?
how's your day been?
How's it been? It's been okay. Quiet but good. I had we had like our first one day show with a
Mm-hmm.
few of my people in my course. So that was interesting. It was, it's cool. What can you do when you don't have the work in front of you? There's only so much you can really do. So
So how was it
but it
with?
was good.
Did you attend in person?
No, no. So we had a Microsoft Teams set up, and then we all just kind of spoke about our work. Two people curated it, so they just set up all our artwork, and then yeah, we just spoke about it. People spoke about each other's work. That's how it worked.
Was there a critique or was it a sort of conversation? How was it structured?
So it was basically like, okay, say my artwork was there, and then the person that was kind of speaking about it, he would like ask like three people to kind of talk about the work.
Hmm.
Um, so it was kind of like a critique-ish, but it was like a safe space to kind of just like explore your ideas. And yeah, so that's what it was.
Okay, I think
Yeah.
we're hearing enough traffic for me to begin this properly and welcome you and say hello to those who already gathered. So I'll do that.
Go for it.
It's like one of those episodes that you watch on TV. You start off with the meaty, grishy discussion, and then you end up in a place where the subtitles roll up. And you're like, is this only the start? Like
Yeah.
minutes later, is this only the start? But anyway,
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you.
firstly, I would like to say welcome to another in conversation with me, Eduardo's Aesthetic, and today's guest, Gayle Ebose, who is a fine artist, MA painter. And I have the pleasure of also attending school with her. We went to the same college, uh,
Yeah.
um, which had the longest name in the history of any sixth form college, I think. Uh, so that's where we know each other, and I'm here to support the work of those who I find exceptional and also doing bits. Let's just say that who are doing bits. Yeah, without further ado, let's begin with the questions. So the first question for me really is, what were you doing before Corona? As in, how did you feel as a person? Where was the direction that your practice was going in?
Okay. So yeah, before Corona, I was on the course. I still am on the course. And we were just kind of settling in, actually, especially at the top of the year. We kind of started to find our feet and work out what we're trying to actually do.
Mm.
And I found that I was kind of just basically exploring lives of women that I know in my church. And I was using their portraits to kind of display any stories that they had, um, their feelings, their emotions, all of these kind of things. And that's what I was basically doing before Corona. I was working on a larger scale in the studio space, which was good
Mm.
because
'Cause you work,
it stretched me.
I remember you working
Say that
quite.
again.
I remember you working quite well on a larger scale.
Say it again. I didn't hear what you said.
I remember you working quite well on a larger scale.
Yeah, yeah. So I was really enjoying it. I think it was a good stretch for me. Because initially I was working a bit smaller, and then I went smaller actually, and then they were just kind of like, okay, push yourself, get off the frame, so start just working directly on the wall with your canvas flat on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very freeing, very freeing. It allowed me to be probably a bit more expressive in my brushstrokes than normal. So yeah, I did that, and then Corona happened. So yeah, all my canvases at the moment are in the studio. So yeah,
All of your canvases are in the studio, so you can't work on them. But this also gives you enough time to really think about your own practice.
defo. That has
What
definitely been this time.
What have you been cogitating? What have you been thinking?
So I've kind of just been thinking about just where my work sits in the world, the wider world. And I've written some work to do with it. I think I mentioned to you before some essays
Mhm.
I've been working on, just
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of seeing where does my artwork sit within the art world. Um, and that's kind of been mainly it, really. And it's been good because it has allowed me to kind of read all kinds of things, and to see
We
whether I
like
agree
read.
with things or disagree with
We like.
things. So
We
yeah.
like. We like reading. If you Do, you have any books nearby you?
Yeah, yeah, I do. But the books that I do have, though, these are just like books kind of that I've just been reading just for
Pleasure.
kind of, yeah, and for more like just enriching, should I say? Yeah.
To be
So
honest, I think that's
that's what.
sort of stuff to do anyway. I
Mm,
do that at the end, but I feel like today, because you mentioned them, it's best to just do
mm.
them now. So which
Sure.
books are you reading?
So this is a memoir. I don't know if you guys
Okay.
can see it. A memoir.
My
And it's called, yeah, My Heart is in His Hands,
Mhm.
by a lady called Anne Judson
Mhm.
from Burma. So basically, she just was a missionary, and she went from America to India. And it was like the first missionaries to do that. So it was just like documenting her experiences and stuff. And I'm really interested in memoirs and stuff. So I found that I've been finding it really challenging to read, actually, but it's been good. So
Do
yeah.
you think that that's also because your work like memoir? Your work is
Yeah.
a memoir in itself, and you're telling stories through because I think you like to fixate on times, specific moments in time.
Yeah. And looking at like, so particular thought processes that people have or experiences that they have that can kind of express like what's going on in their hearts, for example. So it could
Mm.
be any kind of experience. I'm interested in seeing how people respond to any kind of situation that happens to them. So yeah, that's why this has been it's been really interesting, just kind of seeing her journey, like them having to take the ship from America all the way down to Cape Town first before going to India. So it's
Mm.
been yeah, it's been very interesting reading about it.
What else? What else?
What else? So another book I've got is called Eight Women of Faith. This
Mm.
one I was thinking I might incorporate it into my next essay. I'm considering it. Um, it just follows the lives of like eight women over history who have been impactful in the faith in one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they're like short essays basically. So Yeah.
Who do they include? Because that's quite an interesting perspective.
Okay, so we've got Jane Grey.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, actually, let me go to the
Or Lady
contents
Jane
of
Grey
it.
that was beheaded.
Yeah, yeah, that lady. Margaret Baxter, Anne Dutton, Sarah Edwards, Anne Steele or Steele, I don't know how that one's pronounced actually. Esther
Mm.
Edwards Burr, Anne Judson, and Jane Austen, sorry. So
Ooh.
yeah, all of these ladies were Christian. I didn't know that. Yeah.
How
Yeah,
has
so
it
it's been
changed
interesting.
perspective, if in any way?
What, reading some of these?
Yeah.
I think I think what it's been is it's more of just their fervence in their faith. Like for example, I can think of Margaret Baxter. I think it was her. No, actually, I think it was the Queen, one of the queens, and how she was so rigid because it was the time of the counter reform and like the reforming times. And
Mm.
so hearing how she was just strict on the fact that she just believed that it's by faith that you're saved, that kind of thing, as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to by your works, what you do, and how good you are, and that's what gets you into heaven. She was very firm on, okay, this is what I believe. Jesus Christ died for me, that kind of thing. And do you know what I mean? So I found that really, really impactful that she would be so strong to kind of convey those kind of thoughts. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I
That
think.
might be Lady Jane Grey because she was beheaded and they took a famous photo, not photo. In those days, there's a famous portrait of her. And I think it's in the National Gallery, where she's kind of searching to see where she put her head, rest her head, and where she's resting her head is the chopping block. So that's quite a
Yeah,
historical
yeah,
image.
yeah. They
Another
described
one.
that actually, which I felt a bit sorry for her actually when I read it. I was like, this is sad because everybody was just looking. Nobody wanted to like say, okay, move this way or stand this way. Everyone was just kind of, it was kind of, yeah, it wasn't pleasant to read actually, to be honest.
No, I totally get that. Is that so? You've spoken about two books. Is there a third?
Yeah, those are the only ones I've got to hand. Yeah,
Okay, that's fine. Ooh, tell me about this image. What's going on here?
the one that you've put up.
Yep,
I'm so interested that you chose this one. I'm wondering why you chose this one, but
because it's on your page, and I told you to go get, to send me some.
yeah, you did. I thought you would choose one of my one of my later ones, but it's fine. No, it's fine. This is cool.
You are hilarious.
Um, hey,
You're hilarious.
I was just I don't know, but no, it's fine. It's fine. So this portrait, how would I describe it? It is basically a mix of cultures.
Mm-hmm.
It's got some beads from where I come from in Nigeria called Edo State, and they're called Ivie beads. And they're used in like different ceremonies, but mainly like celebratory ones. So this lady who's in the photo, she is getting ready to get married, essentially. And so I kind of just wanted to explore that in the painting. That's what I did.
So fun. Why does it make you laugh? Have you been having conversations about marriage?
Uh, very, very interesting question, Eduardo. You didn't tell me about this question.
No, I'm a joker. I'm a joker. You know that I am. You know that I
I'm
am.
not answering this question.
You don't need to. There's no need. You've answered it already. Um, yeah. So it's an interesting image. I've got other images.
hmm
There's also this one.
So this was a commission piece that I did some time ago. I think he's a DJ. No, he's a producer. Sorry, and his wife commissioned it for me. Commissioned me to do it for him.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's just a portrait of him. Yeah,
These are quite interesting. Are these
yeah. So
more
these,
latent work?
they're more what
Are
work do
they
you
more
say?
work? Are these more recent?
No, so those were a couple of years ago.
I
But so
haven't
it's
found any work that's recent, Gayle, because your Instagram is very sort of like stush.
no, my most recent ones are the ones at the top. But it's fine though. It's because with my Instagram, I kind of put sections of the work. I don't put like the whole
Mm.
portrait. So these ones are the whole portraits, but that's fine. These ones are to do with so it's like male collection. That's why I called it. I called man collection. And I was just kind of interested in like different features within the face, and I
Mm.
just wanted to explore the colors and how different personalities can come through based on like the different features that are shown. So
Okay,
that's what.
this is interesting
Yeah,
now. Um, let's explore this a little bit further.
go
So you
for it.
have your pre-corona life, so you were working on massive canvases, big paintings, some commissions, and during corona you're reading, writing essays, doing the MA life.
Yeah.
How do you feel like the MA has impacted currently your practice?
I
And then we can
think
explore the questions that we discussed.
Sure, no problem, that's fine. I think the MA has definitely caused me to read a lot more in terms of just around my subject matter or my subject of interest.
Mm.
And it's allowed me to also kind of see who's out there doing things similar to me or not similar to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I think in that has brought out some levels of frustrations at times, but more times it's propelled me or kind of given me more vim to want to make more of my work because um, I'm just like, I don't know if I really see it around, if that makes sense. So I'm seeing loads of um, portraits and like bodies and all of these kind of things out there,
Mm.
yes, but then this it's the spiritual, it's the Christian elements of it that I want to kind of put through my work. And so
Mm.
when when I've been reading in the MA, I've been seeing loads of work or writings to do with iconoclasm and iconography,
Mm-hmm.
and then stuff to do with just like identity, self, body, sexuality, whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
There's not been a
A mix.
joining of the two, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
That's not also sacrilege in its sort of portrayal, depending on how you classify that.
What did you say? Sacrilege?
That is not also kind of because you talk about the Christianity and the fact that there's a spirit guiding your sort of, how can I put it? There's a spiritual fact guiding your practice at the end of the day. That's what gives you a certain amount of energy in a painting. That's what you capture in your work. I saw you mentioning artists like Jordan Castile, who uses it every day, and then sort of makes it even more. How can I put it? Extraordinary. Would you like to speak about that in relation to how you've found the everyday, like the humble person doing something, that moment of ecstasis, that moment of faith, or that moment of realization? I think you've got some laser work that you have. How do you call it? You have a mother and a child interacting in the sort of like immortal light.
Yeah, so with Jordan Castile, I absolutely love her work. I've been following her for some years now as well on Instagram, and just seeing her development has been so beautiful to kind of see. And I love even just her painting language, as you call it, just like the thickness of the paint and how she kind of what you're mentioning conveys the everyday. So like she has like a Subway series, for example, and
Mm.
she gets all her source materials herself. She will take the photos of each person that she wants to paint. And I love the kind of because there was something that I read where she was talking about how she has this kind of kindred spirit among the people that she's painting and herself. And that's something that I can really relate to in the sense that I always have a sense of a connection with somebody that I'm painting. Either
Mm-hmm.
I know them personally, or I can identify maybe with their story, or I kind of just like how they may have been positioned in that moment, or whatever it may be. And so when I see her work, I can identify with it in the sense that there's something unique that she's able to see in those people, and she wants to portray that. It's kind of like,
Mm.
I feel like her work is kind of like self-portraiture in a way, and that's something that I think that I kind of am gearing towards since doing the MA. It's like these people aren't me, but I
They're
paint myself into them in a sense.
mm.
Yeah.
I like that. I really do like the way that you explain that. Um, these are quite nice. I love the brushwork in these. So this is a more evolved language, I think, and it shows you in a slightly different style than we're used to seeing you. What inspired these sorts of brush making, this sort of language?
Well, this portrait, I wanted to just kind of hone in particularly to like his emotion, because this portrait is along with two other pieces, and they were under the category of raw. And so I really wanted to get the rawness of his emotion and see like his
Mm.
just how morbid or like almost sickly that he kind of looks. And
Mm.
so yeah, so I kind of wanted to use the brushstrokes to kind of show the blood underneath his skin, so to speak, to show him alive, but also kind of not dead. I don't want to use the word dead, but do you know what I mean? Just the
In
kind of
balance, they're in more alive, you know, that mixture.
of both of them, exactly. So yeah, that's kind of what I was trying to get across with that portrait that I was painting. Yeah, I think
Mm.
it's interesting because it's like I realized that I'm quite interested in just the direct emotion that someone can evoke just in by their face. They don't even have to be doing much, but you can interpret or you can read into it whatever you want to. And so, yeah, yeah.
I love that. I love the idea of the invocation, and you can sort of see rosacea and mottling in on his forehead. Um, it feels like he could be on a slab himself. And there's another work which is I think part of the same series, if I'm not mistaken, which is also quite a beautiful one.
It
This
is
one,
yeah. Yeah, that's part of the series as well. The other one was called Convicted, and this one is called Numb. And so I'm kind of still playing along the lines of emotions and trying to get you to just be captured by the gaze.
mm,
Um, and yeah, just what he's trying to say without actually saying anything.
wow. So let me put this into context with your philosophy, because you have quite an interesting mixture of influences. So you're taking from the secular and the divine world, but you're not in essence trying to make the divine secular, or but you're trying to make the secular more divine. You're trying to elevate the divinity of the everyday, like the face, and it feels like you're, correct me if I'm not wrong, but it feels like you're doing that very Christian thing of seeing God's image in others and then trying to bring out their personality through an expression or through a, like even the smallest phlegmatic auras. Right? Talk about these can be your version of icons in a way, because icons can suggest all sorts of feeling and have all sorts of more hidden properties. For example, what we project onto them as what is, you know, an icon can be something that heals and helps someone with pregnancy, or you know, like that sort of thing.
I think as you're talking, I really want you to define what you mean by secular in this context, because I think what I rather do is, yes, bring the spiritual element, the faith element into the work, but then maybe a different word to use perhaps could be like the mundane or just the humanness, and bringing those two together. Is that what you're kind of talking about?
Yeah, yeah. These terms are up for debate. If you don't like the word secular, there is the human. There is
I'm just interested. I just wanted to know what you
no.
meant by
Like
that.
it's a good discussion to be had because I was thinking about it in the sense that you're not here trying to create these images that are like scenes directly from the Bible, but you are also trying to elevate the everyday. So you're mixing the humanity, let's call it humanity. You're mixing humanity with its divine source.
I think I get what you mean now. I think using that word helps me to kind of relate to what you're saying, because yeah, it is the case of, I mean, one of the things I've been thinking of is, even in this time of COVID-19, coronavirus, just the stillness of life right now, and just being able to look around even in this time and being like, where can we find God in the quiet? Where can we find him in the stillness, in like the light coming through the room, or, someone's facial expression, or the fact that they may be going through a hard time at the moment, but they're
Mm.
being anchored in their hearts. Like, that's the connection that I'm trying to bring between, like you say, the human and like godly, the divine. So I think in that sense, that kind of relates to what you're saying, isn't it?
It does, but I, I think that there isn't a wrong or right answer. It's more about clarifying the language that we use sometimes.
Yeah, I agree.
It's important there because I think your use of light is something that I haven't alighted on until now. Like you do have quite dramatic shadow on him. There's a broad sweep of yellow again. It's like it's almost like if death was something that was shadowing, or it's a precursor. Again, the skin color isn't true to life. It has like a mottled nature to it, which is quite beautiful in its own morbid sense, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. I am quite interested in the drama of light, and that was kind of the mindset that I did have coming into the MA. But I've seen the importance of subtlety at the same time. But
Mm.
that being said, light still always comes into my work. It just always does. I can't avoid it. So
Lucian,
I was actually, hey,
lusciousness, luscious, lush. It has lush nature to it. But you're also
oh, okay.
doing something that people would sometimes describe as a lot more dark than what they appear. They're dramatic. You know, you're dealing with stuff along the lines of light is usually towards an end because light hits the surface and deflects off, and that's its divine end. That's its purpose. It serves to illuminate and also to in other ways to give sustenance. Light is something that is also very defining of us as human beings. Which leads me to my next question. Let's talk
Ooh,
about your perception of or your dealings with blackness. What is blackness to you? Because it's quite important to your practice and your wider kind of lenses.
is it important to my practice? I think in this time of black,
That's the question you need to answer, not me.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a question that I've just put out there because it's like, is it important to my practice? I think, uh, what can I say? I'd say it's a lens. I'd say
Mm.
it's one of three main lenses that I use to see life, and how I use to see people's stories, and
Mm-hmm.
what they have to say in the world. But I also want to illuminate blackness, should I say? So not
Mm.
having this. dark shadow that's over it, if we're going to be talking about light and dark, use that
Yeah,
metaphor
yeah.
throughout, or that kind of
We can
line
continue
of,
as
yeah, if we want to use that kind of talk throughout, that's fine. I want to kind of illuminate that. So in the sense that making it visible. So like these portraits of Black women, they are being visible now to the public, people, and men, because that one, what you've got there is a man, but most
Mhm.
recently I've been painting women
Women
more
folk.
so. Yeah, but it's like, again, that's the skin, the melanin. It's like melanin popping, you know, everyone uses that kind of thing now. And like Black girl magic and all of this kind of stuff. It is there is a brightness to our skin, to blackness, and that's just something that I'm interested in portraying. I think I used to it was a lot more natural for me to just paint Black people before. I feel like it's been a lot more politicized now, especially being in art school. It's it seems like there has to be this backing or this kind of uh I don't know how else to put it,
Yeah,
but do you know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah, yeah. And your
I
idea
just
of
like
black,
it has to be like that. So
it was more about representing what you see around you rather than blackness with a capital B and political with a capital P, which is an interesting point to take you, which is the next question that I want to put in. Usually, because you're now you've entered the academy, you're going to be a master of your own art by the end of it. Do you believe that you can be seen as a Black artist or an artist who happens to be Black first? Or are you a Black Christian artist, or you're an artist who happens to be Christian who happens to be Black?
well, I like the latter. The last thing you said is what I like, is what, because ultimately it's the essence of the person. Like, who are you? That should be how we see people and how we engage with people. Um, it's kind of like what we spoke about the other day in terms of like, what do you see when you see someone first? Do you see that they're Black, or do you see that they're a woman, or do you see that they're whatever it is? It's like, I think yeah, it's very challenging, but I would definitely say it's probably the latter. What you just described, the last thing about just me being an artist who is a Christian, who is Black, who is a woman. It's got so many different like titles or
Very
sections or labels. But that's what I would say.
okay. Do you want to take it any further? How has the academy really like shaped your appreciation of it? I'm annoyed that I took a picture of you there and you can't see the beauty of the full afro and the person prostrate praying. Give me an idea of
Um,
how you've tackled in your own work. For example, I read your essay on representation. Do you want to like give us a little bit of an idea of how you see representation?
well, yeah, so I didn't even call it representation in the essay. It was actually called represent. And I was kind of
Oh
just
yeah.
looking at, yeah, so I was looking at the history. I was looking at just how blackness, people, whatever, have been depicted in the past in portraits, and how it's important to kind of represent, decide to change the way we are now seen in portraits, and how therefore we are seen in society or in just life generally. And so I was doing that through what we were kind of just speaking about in terms of just illuminating the person from within. So not just focusing on the skin, not just focusing on the fact that they're a woman or focusing on whatever, but who are they as a person? And I think that's one thing that I've been most interested in, just the essence of the person is what I want to try and portray in my work. If they happen to be Black, cool. If they're a woman, cool. Like, it just is what it is. So
Mm. You want to get
that's
beyond
kind of what I'm
the
trying to present.
superficial.
Yeah.
It's funny because you want to get beyond the superficial, but you're dealing with surface the whole time.
How do you mean?
I mean, as in you're dealing with surface the whole time. You're dealing with the face. You're dealing with the expression of the hands. You're dealing with the body.
That's true.
How do you see it as a language of your own in a way? How do you, apart from incorporating light, how do you make sure people can adequately contextualize your thinking?
That's true. And I think what's also helpful is pairing paintings with writing.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Love that.
pairing it
I'm gonna
with
find on my phone whilst you do this. Whilst you
yeah,
speak.
so like pairing, putting the voice behind the face as well. So, because one of the things that I wrote on my studio wall before we left uni was archiving women's faces, voices, and stories in the 21st century church. So the
Mm-hmm.
face is the portrait, fine, but then there's the voice and there's the story. And so I think those glimmering things, such things like just the title, can allude a bit more to the person that I painted, or just kind of like maybe a poem. I've been writing a lot more. Writing is one of my interests as well. So
Mm.
incorporating writing a lot more into my practice has also been a good way of kind of fleshing out the thought process a bit more so that you're not
Mm.
just seeing a painting and you're like, oh, this is acrylic, or oh, this is oil. You then begin to kind of understand the person I'm trying to portray, because it is to do with archiving, and it is to do with, recording, preserving. And
You're
so,
talking about
before,
history, aren't you? You're talking about the
okay,
whole. You're talking about the whole practice of history, in essence, the whole practice of creating your own sort of museum in a way. And Gayle, this is your practice of archiving. Gayle's I Gayle's sort of view of the world, in essence.
is it girls' world though? Like, is it, or is it just what I see around me and I think would ordinarily just be buried? Like these voices and these everyday mundane situations that happens to a lot of people but just don't really get spoken about. So let's say, for example, uh there was a painting. I was okay, let's say my friend who was pregnant throughout this time of uh lockdown.
Mm.
You're by yourself, you're isolated, and then on top of that you're carrying a child. Like there's just so much that goes with that would ordinarily, everybody would just be getting on with their own lives and just doing their own thing, but
Mm.
having that documented illuminates it brings it to the fore. Do you get what I mean? It gets you to see, oh, okay, this is how this person dealt with this situation. It was a struggle, they wrestled with it, they found challenges, etc., etc., but they were anchored, they were strong, they were um, delivered. Do you know what I mean? So
Mm.
yeah,
So what? Tell me about the painting behind you there. Tell me about this
yeah,
painting.
so,
Is it
yeah. That kind of,
is this the one that you were talking about? As in the one that are you working on this currently?
yeah. So that's what I'm talking about. There's a few other people that I know that are also pregnant as well, or have
Like,
just experienced this whole thing in this time. Yeah, but I just thought I'd mesh all of those kind of ideas into this portrait. And so, yeah, this one is called Glow in Isolation. And again, it's just playing on the whole, pregnancy glow. Um,
no one
but
else can see
then,
it.
yeah,
Anyone else can see it.
what the glow? Yeah, exactly,
You glow.
exactly. But then she's glowing in her own environment. She's anchored in the hope that she has that she will deliver a child soon, and all will be well, by God's grace. And so yeah, I was kind of just looking at just the serenity in that moment as well, of just knowing that you're carrying life within you. You don't know what's going to happen next, especially if it's your first child. You don't know what's going to happen next. But then you have this inner peace, and the peace that comes from God, that you would you'll get by, you'll get through. So yeah, that's kind of what I was trying to incorporate into that painting. It is still unfinished, by the way, just what you were saying. I'm still working
No,
on it.
I love it. There was a piece that you did. I think it was a woman's head, if I'm not mistaken. It's a beautiful piece. I just didn't have enough time to mount it properly so I could show it, and I
That's
didn't
cool.
show it wrongly. But I've got one of your poems, if you don't mind me reading.
Oh wow, okay, go for it.
Um, I'm dyslexic, so that's my usual proviso. So this is as much of a challenge for me as it must have been for you guys listening or reading. Cultivating a quiet mind, being present, stay here, be available, don't go, stay in touch, pray, meditate, breathe, appreciate, solitude for the taking, mind the gap. Who takes trains anymore? Stillness for the nation. Draw, draw from the well, draw from God, draw in isolation.
Wow, it's very interesting hearing somebody else read your read your writing. That's cool.
This is why I think it's important that we do these lives, because for a lot of the time we spend looking at ourselves through others' lenses. How often do you get to speak to someone you know well about your own practice who's not going to be grading you?
Yeah, no, I hear that. Yeah. Oh,
I
no,
found that
that's.
I found
Say
that
that again. Sorry. I missed that.
no, I was just saying I found the poem very powerful because of its portrayal of, you know, the idea that we're doing stuff or normality is something that we're used to and it's not continuing. It doesn't continue to just be normal. And it's just crazy in that way, isn't it?
Yeah, it is interesting just seeing the effects of us being so used to normal and then having a new normal, as people are saying, and just having to navigate through that. Like, what does that look like? What does that sound like? What does that feel like? So, yeah.
Mm. Guys, you are welcome to ask questions. The last sort of 15 minutes of our talk, I've not exhausted questions in any way, but you know, use the question box, which is provided by Instagram. If you have any questions on what Gayle is up to, you're more than welcome to. Otherwise, I might just read more poetry and choke her up. No, that's a joke. But I love a similar way that you give us an aerial shot of the woman's face. Actually, I think everyone was liking it because give us more of a shot of the pregnant sis's face.
Oh, the one right now behind me.
Yeah, give us a little bit of, oh wow, look at that, look at that. And I can see all of your elements coming together, like the luscious, you know, tomorrow the Olympica is still in your work, Gayle. That kind of
Who?
beautiful. Could you hear what I said?
No, who's the person you referred to?
Tamara the Olympica.
Ah, okay.
Like I still see her in the way that you do your beautiful kind of ruffles, and there's a Raphael nature to it as well. And then you've got these beautiful colors, and it feels like what are you working in?
Well, that's the thing. So, since being at home, I left all my acrylics in the studio. So, and I bought some oil paints from like last year,
Oh
and they've
wow!
been in my house all this time.
So
So
you're
I was
working
like,
in
oh,
oils.
clearly, yes, oil, yeah, yeah, I know. Since sixth form,
We're all being infantilized.
I did not like them in sixth form at all.
It
But
just took so long, but now have you got used to them after how many?
yeah, so it's been I think, yeah, actually I think this was the first one that I was working in oils, and so this is literally practice, this one, just kind of thinking, do I prefer it thicker application, thinner application, what does that look like? I think this was the first time working on linen as well, so it was just like this is just
It's a new
experiment.
medium. You're really
Yeah,
pushing new
literally.
boundaries for yourself. But
Literally.
it still feels very sort of papery. You have this light that sort of shines through in your work. You know, this glow.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah, it's just, I think it was just about trying to play around with it and just seeing what I like, what I don't like. I feel like I've kind of, because I've got a few dotted around my room at the moment, and I'm
Show,
starting to get to grips
show,
with it.
show us them if you
No,
can.
no,
Different stages of production. Come on, be nice.
no.
Give us
Do you
a
know,
juicy
I was
exclusive.
considering, I was considering doing another kind of mini live thing on Sunday. Perhaps a little garden exhibition. Perhaps I will see, and then maybe I'll just show everything then.
Okay, okay. I see. You're keeping your cards up your sleeve. Uh, I do remind you guys, you know, you have Gayle here, so ask her some questions. I'll go on asking my questions.
Feel free, go for it.
Well, anyway, Gayle, tell me a bit more about your process. Like, when do you get an idea for work? Is it associated to you reading something? Is it associated to you watching something? What is your usual creative input? Like going to galleries is one thing that's quite important to you. I know that. I'm excluding the easy ones. Making
No, that's fine. I think mainly conversations, actually, deep conversations with people who are going through painful or like some kind of, yeah, painful situations, touchy situations. Um, I think also voice notes as well also kind of give me a sense of, oh, okay, wow, I can imagine this in a portrait. Some kind of weird,
mm,
some weird to say it, but it's
it's
like,
not it's not weird, but
is that how can
it's
I
that thing,
capture?
isn't it? It's that thing that drives you. You want to capture emotion, and you can see it, like just the way in which you paint. You've got the divine proportions correctly, and the light coming in through on the left hand side on that, which is a bit strange, but I'll give you that. Or is it the right hand? But yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear now. I couldn't hear you before.
I was like, it feels like it could also be a landscape. I like the fact that your work has that duality to it. Like the skin is expressive, it speaks for itself, and it also has its language of pasting. You seem to paste things together in a way. You
That's
paste
cool.
different.
I like that description. Yeah, I like that description a lot. I do definitely like the exploration element of painting. Um, that's the thing. I think I've heard it said before that all kinds of paintings are abstract in a sense, though I'm not trying to necessarily be an abstract painter or something. My painting's not going to be an exact representation or replica of what I see. It's
Mm.
kind of going to have those different elements to it. And so I'm actually enjoying just the playfulness at the moment of just kind of working out my painter hand kind of thing. Like
Mm.
what's my language as the words are called for it? What is my painting language? Am I going for like this or that smooth, or to be honest, I don't even need to have an answer to that. Like as in I can kind of explore whatever based on what I'm trying to say in that portrait, if that makes sense.
It
So
does.
if I want a smoother one, maybe I'm talking about a more serene or sadder thing or whatever. If I'm talking of if I want more energy in it, or there's an urgency to paint something, then it's going to have a different weight to it. So I'm kind of I enjoy just painting however, to be honest.
I think it's important that you allow yourself that freedom to create
Yeah.
whatever you feel necessary. And yeah, I just say Godspeed to you and continue. Last 4 minutes of our live. I'll leave you to throw me a question.
Oh, oh, no, you should tell me fun. Okay. Oh, okay. What have you been working on? Because I know that you have a bit of a potter's hand. What have you been doing in
I have
terms of like clay work? You
clay,
haven't?
so I tried ordering some clay because I've got the space in the apartment, so I can set up a little makeshift studio. Because you know that I always find it frustrating to paint and draw.
Yeah.
I used to like the story from when I used to do my paintings and my drawings and all that stuff. I used to do them after I created the material object. I always find it more easy to like think about the 3D effect rather than something 2D, and that comes with time. So I like having something when like there is something in the process of being made, or in the process of being represented and representing nature, and something that I'm also then adding that abstract mind to it and taking it away from the everyday. So mixing those is what usually happens when I make a piece, and that comes from poetry, and it comes through to all sorts of other facets of my life. Short answer is I have no clay, so I tried drawing, and it lasted 2 days, and then I put it down.
Well done for trying anyway. You tried.
I tried, I tried. Like, I couldn't be an artist. People expect you to, like, do, like, drawing after drawing and
Yeah.
all of that stuff. And I'm more of a poster, artist in my own way. I'm a poster, but not one that would be selling like Grayson Perry. Maybe I'll become an Eduardo-shaped artist in my own right. Okay, we
Yeah.
have 3 minutes left, and I'm conscious I want to give you the last word on this. Go on, Gayle.
Oh, thank you for your time. That's what I would say. Thank you for inviting me on, and it was a pleasure. Thank you for allowing me to express and you to express as well. It's been a good conversation.
I've enjoyed having you sort of query my terms because I don't think many people do. They either just say, I don't understand what you're saying, Eduardo, like you're going over and above, or or they try and answer it without fully like understanding that I like to be questioned in the same way that you do. Thanks.
Understanding is key. Clarity is good.
Clarity is amazing. Thank you for giving us a window into your own creative life. I wish
Oh, my pleasure.
you Godspeed with all of the painting projects that you have, and not be like me, giving up on drawing after 2 days.
Oh my gosh.
Because that will be the day. I'm gonna see if I can actually find some clay. Let's see if I can find some clay this month, and then I'll do
That would
some.
be cool.
But
That would
anyway,
be cool.
guys, I would like to thank Gayle Ebose or Gayle Wellier for being an amazing sitter as usual, and for having been very honest and forthright. I would like to thank you guys for being a very silent audience today, I have to say. But I'm not telling you off in any way, shape, or form. I think it's also a sign of how good the conversation is because we question each other and we brought things out of ourselves that wouldn't necessarily have been brought out by you guys. But, I always say I have the best audience in the world and I have the best conversations with the best peoples. Tomorrow, on Sunday, I have 2 more people to go for this part. And then I have a week break for my birthday.
Ooh.
Woo! So tomorrow I have Dawood of Mizan Studio, and on Sunday I have Janine Francois, the academic, on all things to do with representation. See you later.
See ya.